Alright, so we will now continue with our user sign up or be able to sign in and for sessions and then admin authorization. So this would be how to create session. We will terminate and start a session and create the session controller. And we look a little bit at the bcrypt, a tiny bit. Anyway, if you haven't watched the first one, make sure you do so. Let's get started again. Alright. Alright, so let's continue. So what we want to do now, we need to create sessions for the active user and terminate on signing out. Okay, so this is a very common thing, actually exists in all applications when you can sign in and sign off. So let's create that. Go to your terminal, let's clear the window, and here we need to create a new controller for the sessions. So type Rails G controller, name of controller, sessions, and let's give it an action of new. Alright, hit enter. Okay, there we go, we created our controller. Let's go to the text editor. Alright, and let's go to that controller. Actually, we need to go to the config folder and open up routes.rb. And here, this is the route it was created. But we need to comment that out, and let's do resources again. And then space colon sessions. So if you haven't understood yet what resources does, I think you will understand now. Back in the terminal, clear, and let's do Rails routes. Alright, let's listing our routes very soon. There we go. Alright, I'm going to scroll up here. So there we go. Again, the resources created a selection of routes for index, create, new, etc. So that's what it does. It creates all those routes in one swoop by doing resources. Okay. Alrighty. Now let's go to the controller that was just created. And then go to sessions controller. So there we have our new action. But underneath, let's make a create action. So type def create and then end. And in here, for the sessions, we need to type user without an @ sign. So only user equal user with capital U dot find underscore by underscore user ID. And then we do parentheses, type params, square brackets, colon user ID. So this, when the session starts, it goes and look for the user ID, but we need to authenticate the password. So type if user and double ampersand user dot authenticate AUTHENTICATE parenthesis params square brackets colon password. Okay, this is going to check if the password is correct. So if this is correct, we can start the session. So that is done by typing session square brackets colon, and then I'm going to give it a new parameter, which is user underscore ID, and then equal sign, and that is assigned to user.id. So if the first user sign in with an ID of 1, it assigns this to the session. Okay? And then we need to redirect it, so we can do redirect underscore to, and let's redirect it to root path, comma, and let's give it a notice. So type notice colon and quotation marks. Let's say welcome, and let's do that interpolation. So # curly brackets, and let's say user underscore ID. So it should get the user ID and display it. And let's do a comma. You're successfully signed in. Alright, not signed in, signed in. GN. There we go. Alright, can do an exclamation mark there. Alright. Then else, of course, if it wasn't successful, then we need to say render quotation new. So it renders the sign-in form again. And let's say alert colon. And let's type here user ID and or password. Oopsie. Password invalid. Okay, because that happens. Sometimes we put in wrong passwords. Happens all the time. Alright. Okay, and this actually is not correct. It needs to be a dot there. So the user gets the user in that column, and then it fetches the appropriate ID. Now, go to the sessions.new.html.erb in the views folder, and to users, and then the new file. And we're going to create the form for the sessions. So we can just copy this from the new file in the users folder and paste it into the sessions new file. Okay, and then we can go back and copy this as well here and then paste it in. And here let's just say please sign in. Okay, and let's open up the Ruby syntax, and here we will use the form underscore tag. Since we're only fetching something from the database, we're not storing it to the database. So we need to say sessions underscore path, and then we start a do loop. And let's close the Ruby syntax and then open it up on the next line. Okay, so then we need a text field for the user ID. So type text underscore field underscore tag. And then colon user ID. You need to put in a nil here for the second argument in the tag. And then for the third one, we put in the placeholder. And then colon. Let's say input user ID. And close the Ruby syntax. And then we need to have one for the email input. No, what I'm saying, password input. So you can just copy that and change text to password and change user ID to password. There we go. And here we could say, oops, I had a capital S there. We can say password. So input password. Right? Good. And then we need the submit button, which is done with the submit underscore tag. And then the text could be sign in. And let's close it. And then we need to end the do loop. So without equal sign, then type END and close the Ruby syntax. All right? Okay. All right, so back in the controllers folder, open up the application controller. So what we need to do here, we need to make user available to all controllers. So we haven't worked with these application controllers yet. Remember, application is like the mommy and daddy of all the other controllers. So need to make signed in user available to all controllers. This is done with a private method. So type private and let's define this method. So def, let's name it current underscore user. and then need to type end so I don't forget that. And in here, let's assign a instance variable. So type at current underscore user, and then 2 pipe signs and equal. Then you say user dot find parenthesis. In here type session square brackets colon user underscore ID. Now this is a conditional statement actually, so we need to say if session square bracket colon user ID. Alright, so it might seem a little bit confusing, but so if the session is successful, you go and find it, and then you assign this instance variable. This makes it available to the controller, but we also need to make this method available to the views folders or the views. You do so by typing helper underscore method and then colon current user. So this helper underscore method, it is a helper method, and this is going to make us be able to use the current user within the views. So now let's actually go to the views folder then and go to the shared and open up navigations. So now we're going to make use of that current user method. So let's do a li tag and type class equals, and let's give it a class of nav-item. So we're going to create a sign-in link. So in here, open up the Ruby syntax and say if current underscore user, meaning that if the current user is actually signed in, we can do this. And so let's say hi, and let's display the user ID name. So let's say current underscore user dot user ID, and then close the Ruby syntax. All right, so, and then we say else. So type else, and in here we can copy this link, and then we're actually going to give it a sign in. So this would be our sign in link, but I'm going to put in the end for the if statement right here. So instead of create account, write sign in. Okay. And this needs to say, so let's go actually, so I'm just checking the path, which is new session path. So that's why it's good to always have those routes available to look at. And we need to close this li tag. So this means that if the current user is signed in, it would display the name. If not, it would have a sign-in tag. Oops, I have a one extra end statement. It says expecting end of input. Let's go to the application controller. Okay, and I don't need this end here because all this is written in one line. So that's why we didn't need that extra end for it. So let's refresh. Okay, there we go. See, we now have sign in link. So let's click on it. Let's sign in. So I do it with test user, and then I put in the password, and then I'm going to hit sign in. I'm going to let you style this sign in. Oopsie. Okay, index. Okay, so it is expecting an index action. So back in the sessions controller, let's just create that action. So def, type index, and then type end. Okay. But what we want to do, we just want to redirect this index. So we could then redirect underscore to root path. Okay. And actually, in the sessions views, let's just create a new index.html.erb anyway. We're probably not going to use it, but we can just create it anyway. Okay, save everything, and now it's redirected to the root path, so all should be good. Let's go back to the browser and refresh. There we go. Right, let's sign in. Perfect. Okay, so let's see if it works. We do the test user and then put in the password and then hit the sign in button. There we go. Okay, all right, first, hi test user. It doesn't look pretty. We're going to fix that, but this is funny. It said welcome 1, so I made a funny mistake here. If you see, I said user.id. It needs to say the user ID in order to output the name of the user ID. Okay, but let's create the destroy action so we can log out. You do so by typing DEF down here, and we'd create a destroy action, so type destroy and then end. And in here, this is fairly simple actually. I'm going to check the destroy path just to be sure. So this is here, it destroy, and it corresponds to session, which is the delete method. But all we need to do in here is actually to say sessions, or actually, yeah, session singular, square bracket, colon, user underscore ID, and then we set it equal to nil. So when the session is destroyed, it is empty. That's all we need to do actually, which makes it pretty easy. Okay, all right, and then we need to redirect it after it's destroyed, so we can redirect underscore to root path, and I need an underscore there. Okay, and let's give it a output alert. No, actually it needs to be a notice. So notice, and let's say you successfully signed out, or logged out. Let's do that. Logged out. It doesn't matter. Alrighty. Okay. Now we actually need to put in the link here for the logout. Okay. So if in here, so if current user, so this needs to be wrapped within the logout link, needs to be wrapped within an li tag. So that's why I copied that here. And underneath we can just copy this link here and go and paste it right there. And I'm going to put in a closing li tag so I don't forget it. Okay, now paste in the link, and let's change this to sign out. Okay, and now we need to do something special here actually. We need to say session, and we need to put in an argument here. It doesn't really matter what it is, but it needs to have one thing that it passes. And I will just put in within quotation mark, I put in active. Okay. And then it needs to have the method. So method colon space colon delete. So it knows how to call on the destroy action. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to wrap this hi current user ID within an li tag as well. So I copied that. And then I need to close the li tag underneath. And then so else, if user is not signed in, it has a link to sign in, but we need to wrap that within an li tag as well. So I copied that one below because it needs, everything needs to be inside the if statement now. All right. Okay, save everything back to the browser and refresh. Okay, oh, all right, I know exactly what I did. This needs to say session underscore path. Sorry if that was very quick. I recognized my mistake right away. So it needs to have a path where to go. Okay, refresh. There we go. Okay, test user still didn't work. Okay, you need actually to say link, nav link, to pass the proper design of the CSS. There we go, much prettier. Okay, so I hit the sign out and it says the destroy action cannot be found. I know I did that correctly, but I put the whole destroy action within the create action. I forgot to I had the end at the wrong place. So make sure each action ends properly. Alright, let's go back to the browser and refresh. I've taken that away. Look at those 3000. I'm going to try to sign out. Great. Successfully logged out. Perfect. So let's try and sign in. So I do the second user, which I created, another user. Put in the password and say, welcome another user, you successfully signed in. Okay, I'm going to try and sign out again. Yep, works nicely. Okay, so like I said, I was actually about to style this thing, but I'm going to let you style this form for the sessions, okay? You can just copy class form control and put it in. But I'm going to here actually for the user's input, I'm going to put in a few break tags here. So this is the new user for the sign-in form, because they were kind of squished. And when you're done this, you can just copy this and go to sessions folder and then the new and then put it in. Now let's create a new user and you will see what I think that needs to be done. So create a new user. I name it tester3, test3@testing.com. Oopsie. Sorry, it's a helicopter there. It goes away in a little bit. Now I'm creating a password. I'm confirming the password. So basically what I want to do now is that, you notice when we signed in or signed up, we're not signed in automatically. So it would be nice if we actually was signed in automatically when we created a new account. So let's go and fix that. So go to the controllers and go to users controller. And within the create action under if user.save, type sessions, session, singular, square bracket, :user underscore ID, and then equal at user dot underscore ID. No, it's dot ID, sorry, yes. Because it needs to find the ID of the user. That's why. That's all you need to do. So back to the browser and refresh. Okay, let's create an account. Okay, so we already created tester3, so I'm going to create tester4. And let's put in a test4 at testing.com and create a password. And I'm confirming the password. And then hit the create button. Okay. And now you see, now we actually signed in automatically and says, hi, tester4 is the user we just created. So that's a little bit more convenient for a visitor. Small details that might prove important for when you want to have people come to your website. Okay. All right, I'm signed out, so successfully logged out. All right, now go to the application folder. We need to put in some restrictions. So actually here, type DEF, type authorize, and type end. I will explain as we go along. And in here, type redirect _to and then root path. Oops, actually it's going to be better if it's actually new session path. Okay. and comma, and then we'll put in an alert. So it will make sense in a second. I will explain what I'm doing. Please sign in or sign up. Okay, and comma, and then if current underscore user dot nil question sign. So if the current user is not signed in, actually I don't need that comma there, but I need an end underneath here. So if the current user is not signed in, cut this out and actually put it right after please sign in or sign up. Okay, and delete the end here. Okay, so now everything reads in one line. Now let's go to your comments controller. Then we need to have an authorize to restrict certain parts of the website, just as this HTTP basic authentication did. So we want to limit with something called a before underscore action. Okay, and type a colon, and then we're going to go and copy this authorize method I'm just created to make sure I spelled correctly, but I'm calling on this authorize method. Do a comma and colon only. We're going to do something called a hash rocket. It's an equal sign and a greater than sign. Type square brackets, colon, create. Now what this means actually, when a user sign in, it will not be able to create if a user is not signed in, it will not be able to create a comment. Okay. Now I will handle the destroy action in a little bit for the admin when we work on that, but we will do one step at a time. But while we add it, we need to create here as comment.save, we need to have an if condition. So if comment.save, let's create a notice, and then let's just say you successfully created a comment. Okay, and then else, if something goes wrong, we can still have redirect to the same articles path. So I just copy this here, and instead of notice, it needs to be say alert there, and let's just say comment could not be created. Let's okay. I'm going to say indent first. So now go to the views folder, to the articles folder, and to the show file and open that up. What we do want to do, we want to have render the comments, but we do not want to render the comment form unless a user is signed in. Okay, so I went back to the browser here. So here the comment is visible nicely for everybody to do, and anyone could create a comment. So we want to restrict that. So back in the text editor in here in the show html.erb for the articles file. So here you need to type, open up the Ruby syntax and type if current underscore user and close the Ruby syntax. So when we do that, then we render the form. And underneath we need to say else. And then why not put in links to either the sign-in page or the sign-up page. And I'm ending the if statement right away so I don't forget it. Okay, so in here, let's say please, and let's open up the Ruby syntax and the equal sign, and do link underscore to, and let's give it the name of sign in, and then comma, and then we give it the sign-in path, which is new underscore session underscore path, and close the Ruby syntax. And let's say or, and then we put in the link for the sign-up form. Let's move this to a new line. So in here, link underscore to, let's say sign up, then comma, and this should be new underscore user underscore path. And close the Ruby syntax. And let's say to create a comment. Right? Save everything. Go to the browser and let's refresh. So we are not signed in. Let's scroll down. Voila! The form is gone, and now we have please sign in or sign up with links. Okay, I'm just going to create a space between that line and the links below. So I put in a break tag right there. Not important. Just makes it easier to see. There we go. All right. So to create a comment, then let's sign in. So I do it with the user number 1, which was test user, and then put in the password. Okay, welcome test user, you successfully signed in. Okay, perfect. And now when I'm signed in, the form is visible. Right? So that looks really good. I mean, it's just really, really good to do small little things like this to secure the website a little better. So I signed out, and again the comment form is invisible. Okay. Let's create a new user. Okay. So I create user number 4, and I put in test 5 for the email. And now I'm going to put in exactly the same password as I did for tester 4. And I will explain that right in the end. So I put in exactly the same password as I did for the previous user I created. And this has to do with encryption that I want to demonstrate why it works so nicely. So anyway, now I'm signed in. We're going to go and create a new comment. So just some whatever. Okay, just pay attention that I put in AAA first. So I recognize my comment. Create a comment. You successfully created a comment. Let's go back to the blog and to the show. And then sure enough, there's the comment. All right, let's do one more comment. Let's just say test blah blah blah. There. Okay. Alrighty, so we need to check one more thing. So we are moving on to create admin restriction as well. So we're going to get rid of that HTTP authenticate. Go to your terminal, and if you have closed the third tab, open it up again, and let's start the Rails console. So Rails space C, and now I will explain why I put in exactly the same password for 2 users. Okay. Okay, here the Rails console is running. I will type user.all to show all my users. Then I will find my second to last user, which was tester.4. No, tester 4. Okay. And then the last user was user 4. Remember I said again, they have exactly the same password. So look at the encryption. Of course, the very first is that it shows that it's using bcrypt, and actually the 10 belongs to it as well. That is so the encryption program knows what encryptions to run. But pay attention, even though I put in exactly the same password, they are completely different. Okay, that's what the encryption program does. So even though you inputted the same password, it encrypted it completely different So if someone hacks your database, they don't know that they are the same passwords. Anyway, we're going to move on to create an admin and restrict for only certain things that the admin can view. All right? Okay, bye. See you soon.
But it still gets me